More than 40,000 people marched to Parliament today on the last leg of a 1,000-kilometre hikoi to protest David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill. The crowd spilled out of the precinct and filled the surrounding streets, making their voices heard loud and clear that, te tiriti, the treaty should not be up for debate. And despite the massive crowds, police made only one arrest and say the protest ran safely and smoothly. Senior political correspondent Jenna Lynch has the story.
At the crack of dawn, flags hoisted and spirits just as high, the hikoi mō te tiriti marched to Wellington's Waitangi Park, where they gathered in their thousands. Everyone blown away by the turnout.
Not since the foreshore and seabed, but I think this is going to blow that out of the water.
It's going to be the biggest hikoi in history. I'm really proud to be a part of it.
They were entertained by Stan Walker and Shea Fu. The four making the final leg of a long journey to Arawa Kairako leading the way. The crowd moved slowly and steadily through Wellington. The young.
Why do you think it's important to come to the hikoi?
Because of the Māori, to protect the Māori lands. Protect the Māori lands. We came here to see the haka.
Those doing it for the young.
Whānau, awhi, manaki, yeah, everything really. Our mokopuna, my baby and his babies to come.
And those who remember well all the other marches.
I was an original member of Ngā Tamatoa 54 years ago.
140 years later, we're still oppressed in the same space. So that's why we're here.
If anyone had any doubts about the depth of feeling on this issue, they only need look at the thousands upon thousands that have turned out in Wellington today.
Some with choice words for the author of the Treaty Principles Bill, David Seymour.
F you Seymour, f you Luxon, from my heart.
Yeah, shame on your undies.
Others saving their breath.
If you had David Seymour out here on the street, what would you say to him?
Swap past him. Yeah, not much.
I'll give him a few choice words. I'm not that type of person.
Ultimately, they all had the same message.
Kill the bill! Protect the treaty!
That they do not support the Treaty Principles Bill and that they stand together. The message of kotahitanga or togetherness shared by the late Kingi Tuheitia was keenly felt among the crowds. His daughter and successor, Ngā Waihono i te Pō, welcomed into the hikoi alongside the young wahine of the moment for Māoridom, Hana Rāwhiti Maipi Clark. It took 2 hours for the hikoi to walk the 2.7-kilometre distance from the waterfront to Parliament. A show of force telling politicians to honour the Crown's agreement with Māori.
This march was never about the bill. I ripped that in half and chucked it away. This march was about us. Walking, marching, side by side, generation by generation.
Politicians took turns to address those gathered.
David Seymour, where is the privilege in being the most incarcerated race in our own whenua?
But the man who started the fire only stood to face the hikoi. He wasn't given a speaking slot.
Was that successful, David Seymour?
Oh, I think so. I went to listen and I heard what they had to say.
There were calls for the bill to be rushed through its select committee process, one of the only tools left now that the bill has passed first reading, as Seymour won in coalition talks by ruling it a bottom line for forming a government.
Is there any part of you that wishes you called David Seymour's bluff?
Well, again, the system and the MMP system requires us to find a way to compromise on a number of things.
But the reality here is Pandora's box has been opened. Christopher Luxon, David Seymour, Winston Peters, they all signed up to open this debate. It's going to be, even when the bill is gone, it's going to be very difficult, I think, to put things back together again.
It's thought to be the biggest protest to ever take Parliament, eclipsing the foreshore and seabed march.
Look, what I'd say is, no, it didn't surprise me at all. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, there are strong emotions, understandably, on all sides of this debate.
Police estimated the numbers at over 35,000. Some are saying 50,000. Politicians squabbling about it.
Seen far big ones than this.
First of all, there were nearly twice as many people protesting the size of Dunedin Hospital in a city half the size.
To me, it looked like a hell of a lot more than 35,000, if you want my honest view.
Whatever the number, there is no denying the message was sent loud and clear.
Alrighty, Jenna, where to next, both for the hikoi and for the bill?
As you can see, Lloyd, it's very much cleared out behind me here. A couple of thousand people have made the trek back up to Waitangi Park, where there's a bit of a festival going on with some music, live music for entertainment. Police have revised their numbers for today's event to 42,000 people attending. Now, just to give you a sense of that, once this place was full, there was still thousands and thousands of people lined up way down Lambton Quay. They couldn't fit everyone in here. Police are warning everyone if they're looking to drive home tonight that it's been a really big day, so make sure to rest up. In terms of the bill, the Justice Select Committee announced today that it has opened submissions officially. Now, it will be taking written submissions on the bill until January the 7th. It will hear oral submissions up until the end of February before reporting back around April, May. Now, the crucial thing about that timing is that this will still be going on at the start of the year, and the political calendar is traditionally kicked off with a number of Māori events. That is a problem for Christopher Luxon, not to have it voted down by then, not to have it neutered by then, because you can probably expect that hikoi will reconvene, or at least some of it, for those events like Ratana and Waitangi. And while Christopher Luxon didn't come out to the forecourt to address it today, he will not have the Parliament to hide in when it comes to Waitangi.
Thank you, Jenna. That's Jenna Lynch at Parliament. Go and put your feet up. It's been a big day and you've got a big 6 months ahead. Now, there are plenty of people on the hikoi today who feel very passionately about the Treaty Principles Bill and what it means for Māori. But if you've been watching proceedings today or yesterday over the past week and you've found yourself scratching your head, you are not alone. Last week we asked viewers whether they understood the bill, and 53% of respondents said they didn't. So we thought we'd have a go at explaining it. So where did the Treaty Principles Bill come from? The ACT Party demanded the Treaty Principles Bill as part of their coalition deal with National and New Zealand First. But those parties only agreed to support it for the first reading in Parliament, not beyond that. So it won't go ahead, but it has sparked a major national debate. So what are the issues with the actual Treaty of Waitangi? Well, there are two versions of it. One is in English and the other is in Te Reo Māori. But they say different things because the translation wasn't accurate. The English version says Māori cede the sovereignty of New Zealand to Britain, but the Māori version uses the word kawangatanga, which means governance, not sovereignty. Māori thought they'd still have control over their own affairs. The English version says Māori have undisturbed possession of properties, whereas the Te Reo version says tino rangatiratanga of taonga, which means the chieftainship and full authority over all treasured things, which aren't always tangible. So what are the treaty principles? Well, they weren't mentioned in law until 1975. That's when the Waitangi Tribunal was established, and its job was to hear claims against the Crown when it had allegedly been inconsistent with the principles of the treaty. So since then, principles have been defined by judges and academics, politicians, bureaucrats and lawyers. And they're still a living, morphing, dynamic set of principles. So what would Seymour's bill actually do? Well, it wouldn't change the actual treaty, but it does aim to nail down exactly what the principles of the treaty are, in law, once and for all. And he wants to boil it down to 3 principles, which some say is a controversial concept in itself. And what are those proposed principles? Well, here's the simplified version. Principle 1, the government has full power to govern and Parliament has full power to pass laws. Principle 2, Māori only get special rights if it's been agreed to in a treaty claim. Principle 3, everyone is equal before the law. So what's Seymour's rationale for all of this? Well, simply, it's equal rights. He says the current system pits Māori against non-Māori, allowing co-governance and racial quotas at places like universities. He says it divides New Zealand based on race and ancestry. As for the opponent's rationale, well, they say redefining the principles is actually rewriting the treaty itself. It rewrites a contract without agreement from the other signatory 184 years after it was signed. The Waitangi Tribunal says it actually breaches the current treaty principles, and others say it's overly simplistic. So the question is, will it pass? Well, no, it won't. National and New Zealand First helped get it across the first hurdle because they had to under that coalition agreement. It'll spend 6 months at a select committee. The second vote will see it fail. unless something seismic happens.